on sort of faking it until you make it. Because I think with sales, it's kind of like with everything. There is always a process to learning it. I think they say it sort of takes around 10 months or more for a brand new sales rep to be sort of fully productive in their role. I don't think anyone kind of starts out in sales knowing everything and feeling completely comfortable. I also think that to a certain extent, all salespeople are still kind of winging it. I've been in sales for quite a while now, but I still think sometimes to this day, I'll sort of hang up a cold call and I kind of think to myself, I've actually got no idea what I just said on that phone call, but I think it went pretty well. And then I kind of listen back to it and you realize that at one point, you get to a time where your brain just sort of kicks in and you go into kind of like an autopilot sales brain and you don't even second guess yourself really. So I think half of it is just backing yourself and just trusting in your own ability. But I guess the question is sort of how do you create the confidence and the ability in the first place? So I'd say number one is just repetition is key. Half the battle is just throwing yourself in there at the deep end. I like to use the metaphor of kind of riding a bike. In the beginning, you need the stabilizers. It's good to have some sort of a script and a bit more structure to your calls. Myself, I like to use sort of Microsoft OneNote and just jot down the direction of where I'd like a call to go. In the beginning, this just kind of gives you a little bit more confidence instead of going in blind. By repetition, I just mean sort of making calls every day to different types of stakeholders, different companies, and different industries. I would say a big piece of advice is to rip the plaster off quite early with calling senior level management. Have one day a week where you call in to CEOs and MDs. You'll find it gives you so much more confidence when calling all the other senior level management in a company. Also, having said that, a referral from a CEO or an MD can earn you some respect among the rest of the company, and you can get in touch with the right person straight away. When I first sort of started out as a BDM in a 360 sales role, I tried my hardest to kind of stick to my call and email targets. If I was sort of under my call target for the week, I would kind of grab my friend and I'd say, look, can we do sort of 2-3 hours of just straight cold calling? We called it a cold call blitz, if you've ever heard that kind of phrase before. But it just kind of allows you to get your numbers up, to sort of, again, repetition is key to get more comfortable. Second kind of, I guess, piece of advice for kind of new salespeople starting out is to control the controllables. End of month stress is a real thing, and I think it really pays off to take an admin afternoon every now and again. But usually I find this sort of works most effectively sort of at the beginning of every month or right at the end if you've already hit target. This is probably going to make quite a few sales managers everywhere cringe, but it's just so useful to have an uncluttered workflow, get your ideas in order, and it allows you to actually sort of concentrate on the important tasks that you have to do, and really prioritize and hopefully secure a few meetings before the end of the month. Second is just playing to your strengths. So when you start out, I think you'll immediately get to know what sales avenues come more naturally to you than others. And these are the areas that you find the most success in. I find a lot of my meetings come through cold calling. So when it comes to the end of the month, I kind of capitalize on this and I spend maybe about 70 to 80% of time on calls and the rest in other areas. Again, I mentioned just now that I do love a cold call, and so I thought I'd just give you a couple of phone habits that I wish I'd kind of known in the beginning. And I was speaking to my mentee about one the other day, but when you get a prospect answer the phone, and it's probably once in a blue moon that they might actually ask you, how are you? And I think this is overlooked by sort of so many salespeople, and it's literally the prospect giving you a huge sign and saying they're open to having a conversation with you, and that they're in a good mood. So use this as an opportunity to throw in some of your personality, take advantage of this to humanize yourself and make them laugh. Even if it's sort of something simple like, yeah, I mean, I've been better, Michael. Still kind of getting over the result of the Love Island final last night. And it's just something that you can kind of use to bring in your own personality, break the ice. Yes, I do watch Love Island. Just announce that to everyone. The second thing would just be to be comfortable with the silence on a cold call. This is something I was really guilty of in the beginning. But if you've just asked a question on a call, don't immediately hit with a follow-up question because you feel maybe a little bit nervous or you're worried that there's sort of too long of a pause. I think pauses are really good, and they seem way longer to you on the other end of a call rather than the prospect. So yeah, just give it time, give time for the prospect to answer, and have a think about what you've just said. Leave the room for them to answer the question. You'll just get so much more value this way and come across as much more confident. And then thirdly, it would just be sort of not apologizing for calling someone. It's so hard to do this at first, but at the beginning of a cold call, just don't act as if you're sort of starting off already on the back foot. You haven't done anything wrong. You're going into this call very prepared. You know the ways you can add value. All you need to do is demonstrate that. So instead of sort of saying, apologies for calling you today, change the language. So it sounds like a positive thing that you've called them. You have a reason for kind of interrupting their day. So yeah, try saying things sort of like, appreciate we might not have spoken before. We work with, some very similar companies to yourself. We've managed to help them by doing X, Y, Z, and just adding some value and sort of, it's about recognizing that yes, that person might be short on time. But give them a great reason for sort of taking some of that away from them. But yeah, I think in general, there's no magic potion to being good at sales, unfortunately. I think if there was, probably, yeah, I don't think anyone would be able to afford it. But you'll find the only way to get better is purely through sort of repetition and perseverance. Yeah, but I would say I'd kind of leave on the note of if you're kind of just starting your sales career and just starting cold calling, I'd say just keep at it. It does get a lot easier. You do become a lot more comfortable, and eventually they'll stage you even twice about dialing the number.